Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for To Your Eternity, chapter 154.5. When we last left our heroes, Tonari was trying everything in her power to just delay the Fushi puppet even a little bit. Her explosive burning arrows would hold him up for 6 seconds, so that's really all she could kind of manage there. And things were looking kind of rough, especially when one of her explosions left the puppet's arm sort of barely holding on by its tendons, allowing the puppet to tear it off and throw it at her. She's nearly hit by the knocker-infested blood before Aiko shows up with her poncho and her umbrella to save her. The two of them run off to try to find the kerosene that might help the puppet burn more. But unbeknownst to them, the Funa gang has already worked that out. And if they've come with Molotov cocktails to burn the thing, and it nearly works, though Nagisa nearly dies in the process, and she does lose most of her hair as Funa saves her. But then the school sprinkler system saves the puppet. So, fuck, you know? But Tonari wants to try again at least one more time before they just surrender to death or whatever. And then we just slammed back to Knocker HQ, where the Occult Club is still holding on to Mizuha for dear life. So that being said, let's dive right on into chapter 154.5, United Arrows, or Arrows United Part 2. We open right where we left that storyline, as Hanna calls to Mizuha, desperately reaching with her other hand. Now give me your right hand! And Mizuha just looks up at her stunned. Yuki screams down, "Go back with us, Mizuha-senpai!" And we see Mizuha's right hand starts to twitch. She starts to raise it towards the club. And then the Guardian Knocker breaks free of them, it looks like. Her left arm turns into this whip. And breaks free and she falls. Which I feel like this is just pure guesswork. I do feel like that was the Guardian Knocker's will. Mizuha's the one lifting the hand, and the Guardian Knocker says, "No, you're not going back with them. You're one of us now." And also, if Mizuha falls to her death, I think the Knocker takes over, right? I think that's how that works. That's what we saw with Funa, with Memori, and with Izumi, and everyone else has been Knockerfied. But everyone just screams for her as she falls. Mizuha just looks up at them with this almost blank expression on her face as Hanna calls, "No!" And she just falls. There's this long vertical panel of her right hand, the one that's not Knocker possessed, I suppose, reaching up for the carpet, for the club. And then I think this is that tower Fushi created a couple chapters ago. And we hear this crack from it. I'm not sure. It looks it looks like the floor seals behind her, I think is what's happening there. This still has the same problems as the last part of 153, where I'm just not quite sure what's going on in HQ right now, so I can't really judge I don't really know what I'm looking at as part of it. But it looks like the floor is closing up. Because we see the same kind of square edges that we see in that first panel on page 3. But we see them the gap kind of closing, so it looks like the floor is closing, I think. And then we have this spirally panel. There's this white center and this spiral emanating from it. And I don't know why the light would be spiraling is the thing. So I'm not quite sure what exactly is going on there. And that second panel on page 3 is definitely the tower Fushi spawned. And I'm still not sure what it's doing there or what the hell is going on with Fushi right now. Anyway, we have a quick cut to black. And we see Mizuha lying on the ground at the bottom of this pit with her mother. And they just sort of stare at each other. As the Izumi Knocker looks at her and cries. We see the tears falling down her face. And looks like it's pooling on the ground beneath them. And Mizuha just stares at her. Her eye is only a little wet. And Izumi, like, sits up. I guess being a knocker, she's sort of immune to fall damage or something. But Mizuha, I don't know. So Izumi looks at Mizuha. Come, let's go home, Mizuha. And we have this image of Izumi taking Mizuha home. Welcome home, Mizuha. And we see her father and Hanna both telling her welcome home. And then all of a sudden, her grandpa's also there. And Mizuha's holding a baby. As she reacts, huh? And she looks at the baby. And she's sort of shocked. And then Hayase is there. I'm guessing the baby is meant to be Fushi's. Finally fulfilling Hayase's dream. You did very well. And then we see Kahak. And then I think that's Hisame. And then I guess a couple other head of the Guardians in generations past. As maybe that's every single former Guardian head. At least up to Kahak. I doubt it's all of them for the 500 years. But all sort of gathering around Mizuha holding this baby. And they're all kind of whited out. They all have like outlines and shit, but there's no shading inside the outlines. As Mizuha like faces the camera, so to speak, with this smile on her face, and then we're back on the floor as she cries. And Fushi just stands over her and the Izumi knocker solemnly. And that's where we end. Okay. So, there's still a lot of confusion. Just like that third page is so confusing. All the stuff with the tower is real confusing. But then we cut to that and we do a bit of a dive into Mizuha. If Mizuha is really dead. And it maybe does seem like that in a permanent way. You know? Because I'm gonna look at that scene with Izumi, where they're still in the pit, and Izumi sits up, which we know doesn't actually happen because on the last page we see Izumi still lying there, and this might just be a lack of detail because it's kind of a wide shot. Those tears don't look to be there, and again, it might just be we're sort of seeing them from a distance. You don't get a close up on the two of them at the end there, but Izumi's tears don't seem to be there in that last shot of her with Fushi. But anyway, why I think Mizuha might be actually dead for good is I think she might have gone to paradise. Unlike the others who kind of stuck around as ghosts, allowing Fushi to eventually revive them, we have this scene with Izumi, or the Izumi knocker at least, who I guess is also dead? Unless given the fact this isn't the actual Izumi knocker body, this might actually be Izumi's fae coming to take Mizuha up to paradise with her. Maybe. I don't know. That's an interesting reading. That actually is Izumi's genuine fae, not some knocker. Do knockers even have fae? I actually don't know if knockers have fae. I'm not sure if that's ever really been clarified. But I think they might not. Though we know they can go to paradise. So the Guardian Knocker was in paradise before coming back down to infect Mizuha. So, I don't know. There's just a lot of interest going on here. A lot of really, really curious stuff. But, when we had that welcome home Mizuha, and she's seeing, all the ancestors, that does feel like she's in paradise. She's living out her version of paradise, which is, I guess having a child with Fushi. And how much of that is her own wish and how much of that is fulfilling her ancestors' wish is a real interesting question. I don't know. It's clearly a very symbolic thing going on in this last section. And there's a lot to dig in. I really can't wait for next week to see what exactly is going on here. How exactly all of this sort of gets explained or whatever. What kind of context the next chapter brings. It's all real interesting. That's my take. It's just really interesting. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know what we should interpret here. But I do think at the very least, they're both dead for now. Again, given Fushi's revival powers, maybe I'm wrong about Mizuha going to paradise, but it does seem like paradise. Because when we've seen people die in the past and they have ghosts, right? The way that, like, when March died or when Gugu died, those ghosts sort of were around where they died. And those ghosts can, like, travel, and, you know, they all followed Fushi or whatever. But they don't, like, teleport to another location. You know, they start out, Izumi and Mizuha start out in the pit. And then they warp to this image of home. And also, like, Hanna's there, so it's clearly not, like, meant to be their spirits traveling home, because Hanna's not at their home right now. And, of course, with the other guardians there. So I do think Mizuha is in paradise. The end for her, I guess. The Guardian Knocker, of course, I think is still there. The Guardian Knocker, I imagine, about to take over Mizuha's body full time. I talked in the past about the distinction between Mizuha and the GK is kind of blurring, and now I think there is no distinction. Mizuha is just kind of dead, which, you know, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, because I feel like Mizuha still had a bit of an arc. I think there were still places to take Mizuha's character, and cutting her down like this, I'm not sure if I'm on board with it. I don't know. Like, we'll see where Oima takes all this, is my thing. Is my final take. Is we'll see, you know, this is only like an 8-page chapter. There's not a whole lot of context we get for Mizuha here. So I'm really curious to see where all of this storytelling goes. But yeah, I don't know. I'm nervous for Mizuha, I'll say that much. I'm not sure. Like I don't think this is a good ending for her. And I don't know if that's quite the right way to phrase it. I don't know. I really just don't know what's going on with Mizuha. I do think she's in paradise right now. That's actually my assumption. The weather, like, I don't know, if the GK could come down from paradise, maybe Mizuha can too? But that was because, like, the knockers, like, really shrunk over the centuries, right? I don't know. I'm just real curious where all this is going to go. That's my final take. There's a lot of good shit here, and I just can't wait to see how all this plays out. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes it happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!